Tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everybody.
We are broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation on CIVL.
Yes, we are.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we broadcast a show.
We try to, at least.
Yeah, and it's all topics under the general umbrella of psychic abilities, energy healing, anything to do with that subject. And so this week's topic is no exception, and it was suggested by Corey.
It was.
It was. Do you want to introduce the topic tonight, Corey?
I'm just writing it down on our. It's learn to recognize emotional manipulation techniques and lying.
Yes. So it's all about how your psychic abilities might enable you to be discerning about whether you're being manipulated in some way or whether you are being lied to in some way. Because it can be difficult to know who you can trust sometimes. And I'm sure you've all encountered situations in your life where you wonder whether you can trust a particular person or not. And I thought it would be cool to broaden this topic out a little bit and just say, yeah, because not only how do you know who you can trust in the physical realm in terms of other people that you interact with, how do you know who you can trust on the spirit realm? How do you know that someone that you're talking to as spirit is who they say they are? How do you know how do you know it's your guide? How do you know it's Archangel Michael? How do you know it's this ascended master or that one? How do you know that you can trust who you're talking to? And then to just even broaden the topic even further, sometimes you might even be lying to yourself. Sometimes you might be lying to yourself because you don't want to face something, or you might just be confused. And I find that
that's me.
Yeah, and I find that's not so uncommon when, especially for example, in my students that are taking my courses, because they have to navigate how to tell the difference between when it really is my intuition speaking, when it's my ego, or when it's my emotions, or when it's my intellect, or some other aspect of self. So it can be a little bit of a minefield for people to be able to know which voices to trust, because there are many, many different voices all the time incoming into our reality, aren't there?
I think so.
Yeah. So let's start with the idea of talking about other people, which is what most of you would think of when we talk about, well, are you being lied to? Are you being manipulated? And who can you trust? And if you think about this, it's happening all the time in our daily lives, even just at a very innocent level of a little white lie. I mean, how many of you who are listening live right now and can type into the chat room, how many of you have ever told a little white lie? I mean, we often tell little white lies to save somebody's feelings, don't we? Or, make a judgment call that perhaps it's not kind to give this information to this person at this time. And so that's one way in which most people lie. And yet, in a world where we were all using our psychic abilities, it really would be impossible to lie, because we would all be completely tuned in to what's going on with
We have one honest person who said me.
well, you know, my favorite example is,
Oh, Tanya said
I don't
yes.
know, your friend's wearing an ugly dress or something, and you're just about to go out. And what do you do? If she says, "How do I look?" What do you do? Or guys, you know, your girlfriend, "How do I look?" What do you do? Do you say, "You look lovely"? Or do you say, "Well, that's a really ugly dress"? Most people would just say, "Well, it's lovely," you know, and yet they'd be lying, and they'd be telling a little white lie. Now, even though that's what they said, and that is what is presented on the surface level of reality, underneath it, there is what the energy of what they're really thinking. And that's being broadcast. You can't help what you think. And what you think doesn't stay inside your head. It's energy, and the energy travels, it's being broadcast. And so that's why so often so many of us feel something doesn't seem right here. You know, this person is saying one thing, but I've just got this feeling that that's not really their truth. And it's because we're picking up on those subtle energy signals that everyone puts out all the time. So even though you're
Soulful Connection, sorry to interrupt. Soulful Connection says, tell a half a lie.
tell a half a lie. Is that possible, to tell half a lie? A lie is a lie, I think.
Lies, a lie's a lie's a lie.
Yeah. All right. Yes. So that's an example. Another example might be someone who's got something to say, but they're a very shy, introverted person, right? So in the meeting, let's say a meeting at work, and the person chairing the meeting says, "Now, you know, everyone lay your ideas on the table." And you might get the more extroverted people who aren't shy speaking up, but there might be some people with some very good ideas who just say, "Oh, no, I don't have anything to say." And it's not that they don't have anything to say, it's that they don't want to be in the spotlight, they don't want to be noticed. Maybe they've got some stuff going on about being afraid of being observed, or afraid of being criticized, or afraid of being judged. And so that person's communication goes unsaid. And in a way, it's a form of telling a lie. They have something to contribute, but they can't bring themselves to contribute. And then we've got the outright manipulation or denial levels. So let's see, you've had an argument with your partner and you say, "Are you angry?" "Oh, no, I'm not angry." Well, that's a lie, because maybe they are angry and you can tell that they're angry, but they're saying, "No, I'm not."
That's also manipulation too. That's
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Sometimes that's like, let's lay some guilt on you.
Well, or just manipulation because I don't want to face confrontation right now. So even though I'm angry, I don't want to share that idea with you because I'm afraid of what that might lead to. And then let's think of another example of somebody lying to manipulate you. Let's use internet marketing. You're watching YouTube, and then some guy comes on and he's got $1 million home in the background and a fancy car, and he's like, you know, "Let me tell you my secret, that I made millions of dollars in 5 days using this, you know, special technique that I'm going to teach you." Well, odds on that guy's actually lying. And it could be a form of manipulation to pull you in. So now that's just, all of that is just covering on a physical level how we get bombarded with people lying to us all the time. Yes, Corey.
Yes, you talk about internet internet dating.
Oh yes, that's a good one,
Wonderful
isn't it?
expression of people who just lie through their teeth.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a really good one, because and lying about your age, when you reach a certain age, it's really common for people to pretend that they're younger than they are.
George says, have no trouble to speak up my mind just to avoid lying. Need no friends who love my fat lies. If people stick around because I'm a fake and I'm making them feel good by lying, they're no friends. It's true. And Soulful Connection says commercials are a great example.
Yeah, they are. And even the media in its sensationalization of things, might we call that a little bit of a lie in a way?
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the bare facts and plain truth, is it? Same thing about the government, that they always telling us the truth. So when you start to think about it, we exist in a sea of untruth, and those of us who are sensitive, you have an inkling of something being awry here. So I mean, wouldn't it be fantastic to be able to tap into your intuition, to be able to trust your psychic senses and your psychic abilities, so that you can tell that when somebody's lying to you without a shadow of a doubt. You absolutely have a very clear idea, oh no, this person is lying, or oh no, this person is manipulating.
I think people in a lot of cases understand when someone's lying to them. I think that intuition comes up. I think manipulation is a little bit different. I think manipulation is a real secretive tool that a lot of people use to get their way. And
Yes.
people, especially when you look in sales, I'm not saying all salespeople are scum, but a lot of them will say what you want to hear in order to sell the product, regardless of whether you need it or whether you don't need it. And of course, car salesmen come to my mind. Like, oh, you'd look good in that.
Yeah. Well, and beyond that, there are people, and I guess salespeople is a good example, who, I mean, you wouldn't believe what goes on energetically, really. You might have two people standing here and it just looks like a conversation, and the one who's attempting to manipulate the other is courting that person. So psychically they have energy cords connecting with their with their prey, and scrambling their brains. So there could be an energy cord into the crown chakra. Believe what I'm saying. You believe this. You want this. This is the truth. Or in the third chakra, to control what somebody does. Or even another common one, and let's say go back to the dating example, where you've actually gone on a date with someone who said that they were 55 and they're or 35 or whatever age, and they turn out to be a lot older. But let's say that person's prime objective is to get you into bed rather than to have a relationship with you. That person can be manipulating you energetically in the second chakra. So having an awareness of your psychic abilities and being able to see and sense energy can really, really help you in those kinds of situations, because, then well, this person has an energy cord plugged into my crown chakra or my second chakra. and then you can do what you need to do to move their energy out of your space so that you can retain your own personal perspective. Because whenever someone else's energy is intruding into your space, then that will be influencing you. And especially if they're sort of, it's being targeted, whether, and this can happen consciously, so the person doing it knows they're doing it, or just unconsciously. So there are plenty of people who are unconsciously manipulating others through how they use their energy. And that's deceitful, I guess, on a spiritual level, even though that person might not consciously know that they're doing it. It's a form of bad behavior, in my opinion.
That's what someone has just said as well. Whoops, let me find it here. It says it's more deceptive, manipulation, or I think manipulation, deception, lying. It's all part of the same bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it stems from selfishness, because you're basically, what you're doing is you're doing something so that you get what you want, right?
Yes, and you're not being in the case of the manipulation example, you are not being respectful of the other person. You are not being respectful of that other person's free will. You're not honoring that person's unique perspective and ability to make choices and decisions for themselves.
You're not going to believe this, Dr. Leslie, but it's time for a break.
I do believe it. So, folks, you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. Tonight, we're talking about, are you being lied to? And how can your psychic abilities help you to navigate those kinds of situations?
And when we come back, we have some more questions for you.
Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey. Tonight's topic is all about, are you being lied to? And how to be discerning about that. And in the first segment of the show, we talked a lot about just navigating relationships with other people and how lies crop up all the time, whether they're innocent white lies or outright attempts at manipulating you. But I also wanted to talk about something that occurs in a spiritual sense. So let's say what you really want to connect with your spirit guides. How do you know it's really is your spirit guide that you're talking to? Versus, how do you know it's not some other being pretending to be your spirit guide or posing as a helpful, benevolent guide, when actually it's the opposite, when actually it's got some kind of self-interest in mind? Because just like there are many different types of people in the spirit world, there's many different types of being, all the way from, you know, the beautiful, benevolent beings that want to help us, down the scale to unevolved beings who might seek to manipulate and control. And it is absolutely possible for those beings to present themselves in a guise that says, hey, you know, I'm your guide and you should listen to me. And so how do we navigate that, and how do we tell the difference? It's a big question. And a lot of my students deal with that question. You know, how do I know? How do I know who to listen to? How do I know it really is my guide? And there are some definite ways that you can navigate that realm and be discerning about that.
Andrew wants to know, is knowing someone is lying part of the function of the knowing psychic ability? The knowing, I would say, clairsentience, I guess.
No, that's
Claircognizance.
yeah. Well, I would say yes, and I would also say not limited to that psychic ability. So you can also, there are techniques that you can use to be able to see if somebody's lying to you. As some people get a gut feeling, and that is their clairsentience, because they're picking up on the emotions of that other person and the insincerity of the emotions of the other person. So I would say, in answer to your question, yes, but it's not the only psychic ability that can help you to be discerning about who's lying to you. And since we were just talking about guides, it's also quite common in your dream experiences for beings to show up as a guide, or even to pretend to be someone you know, and actually it's not really the person that you know, it's just projecting the image and pretending to be.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've never heard that one. Well, I've heard, I see it in the movies where,
Yeah.
or religious circles where devil will come and tell you 99 truths to have you believe one lie type thing.
Yeah.
Or take up a guise of somebody that is, not. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And because in physical reality, you've got this body and it looks like what it looks like. You can disguise it, I guess. You could put a wig on or whatever, but this is your body and this is what you look like. In the astral realm, an honest being will present itself honestly, but a dishonest being will project any number of pretenses and images it wants. So, for example, one common one that I get, the lady who was my spiritual teacher, sometimes I will meet her in my dream experiences and it's her. And sometimes I will meet her in my dream experiences and it isn't her, it's an imposter pretending to be her. And so, I mean, one of the ways to tell the difference is you can recognize the energy frequency if you know somebody, right? So it might look like them, but you just feel like the frequency is off. And also by what they're saying to you. Because if it's a trusted benevolent guide, then it's going to give you supportive information.
Mm-hmm. With Melina Rodriguez, she says, something I'm currently learning is being more present in the moment so I can be witness to when I am being manipulated by a narcissistic person as opposed to being triggered. I'm getting there, but it's hard. I presume the same thing as in dreams. It's like, how would you do it in a dream?
Well, I mean, it depends in some senses if you're conscious in the dream, if it's a lucid dream or not. But like I said, by recognizing the energy frequency, by tuning into the energy frequency of the being as opposed to the visual image that it's projecting at you. And also there's kind of like an unwritten law that if you ask the being directly, are you representing the light? Are you working for the highest and greatest good of all? And you keep repeating that. After you've repeated it about 3 times, if that being isn't honest, it has no choice but to dissolve, to disappear, to move away. So that's one easy tip for validating that you are talking to a genuine guide that is in alignment with you. Now, the one other thing I wanted to talk about under this umbrella of are you being lied to is how to be discerning about from yourself, just within yourself, because we will often lie to ourselves, won't we? It's called denial. often we will deny somebody had, I don't know if I can remember it, but a friend of mine once told me a great acronym for denial. Something like, don't even know that I'm lying, or something like that. That's not it, but
That's close.
yeah, like because we do. There are often things we don't want to see about ourselves, or we don't want to see about people in our lives, so we'll lie to ourselves. And so one thing about developing your psychic senses is to stop lying to yourself, and to see where you are lying to yourself, and to face the reason for that. Why are you lying to yourself? Why are you in denial? Why don't you want to see this truth? What are you afraid of? And sometimes it can be, let's say, I always say on this show that developing your psychic abilities is, it's a two-way street, in that you always have to be healing yourself as well, at the same time as developing your psychic abilities, because that's what keeps you clear enough to be able to perceive things and be discerning about things. So let's say a common one is that somebody suffered some kind of abuse in their childhood, and they've pushed it down, and they're in denial that it happened. And maybe even all the people that were around at the time when the abuse happened are also in denial of it. And so part of developing your psychic abilities is to heal yourself, and to heal those kinds of wounds, in which case you don't have to re-experience the wound, but you do have to open it up, acknowledge it's there, and clean it out of the system. So, and then not only do we deny things to ourselves, we lie to ourselves, it can be difficult to discern, which voice is talking and which voice do I want to listen to? Because we have so many different places that information come in through. So am I listening to my ego? Is it my ego that's saying this? Is it my intellect that's saying it? Is it my emotions? Is it just some stuff that's stored in my energy body that's being triggered in a certain way that's making me believe something? Is it truly my own inner voice, or some other aspect of my higher being? It can be a challenge to navigate all of those different incoming messages and identify the one that is really giving you the absolute true perspective in a crystal clear fashion. And so, of course, your psychic abilities will give you that, especially, your clairvoyance and your knowingness and your inner voice will give you the true picture, the higher perspective. The ego might come in with some kind of distorted perspective. The intellect might come in with a whole bunch of doubt. The emotions might come in with, some kind of drama in response. And so, and then you get all the other voices of other people in your lives as well, that we talked about in the first part of the show, because often people have a vested interest in how you live your life and what choices you make. So their energy will come in and influence you as well. So how do you know it's you and not somebody else that you're listening to? So it's a minefield.
Well, definitely. By the way, I think your acronym was quite right. I looked it up, and I got two acronyms. One says, "Don't even notice I'm lying."
Yeah.
And discordant energy negating and accepting love.
Yeah. So don't even notice I'm lying. Denial. It's a really good acronym. I don't know whether acronym is the right word, but
Yeah. So the Jerry says, what's the root cause of people being manipulating others in relationships?
Good question, Ajiri. And there's probably not one cause, but we can probably just talk about it in a general way. So sometimes people seek to manipulate others because they need to be in control of everything, because they're very afraid. And because they're very afraid, they seek to control their environment and everybody in it. Sometimes people manipulate because maybe they have a narcissistic or a sociopathic personality and it's just purely driven by self-interest. And all shades kind of in between, and it can be conscious or unconscious on the part of the person doing the manipulating as well. So I think there are various reasons why. Another reason might be, like we were just saying, let's say somebody has a deep, dark secret that they don't want their partner to know. They may manipulate so it doesn't come out. Or let's say they have a trauma within themselves or abuse that's happened within themselves that they're really not ready to look at and they're not ready to heal. So they will avoid, they might manipulate in the way that they avoid deep, meaningful conversations and sharing deeply about themselves. They might manipulate to keep something on a surface level. And so I think that there can be many different reasons why somebody might do it. And often it can be to protect themselves from something that they're afraid of. So hopefully that answers your question. I mean, folks who are listening live, give us some examples. How have you been manipulated? What have you observed in your, life situations? How and when have you been lied to? Give us some examples.
Dan says, and I don't necessarily believe this, you've not mentioned how our government manipulates and lies to us.
Oh, I did mention it. I did mention it earlier in section 1. Absolutely. Yeah. We are lied to and manipulated all the time by pretty much any major organization or group that you might think about, really. Whether it's the government or a corporation or the media or, anyone with any large organization with a vested interest in the, perspective that people have on them and what they're doing or what they want people to do.
I remember just after GST came in, there was an election. One of the liberals in Ottawa gets up and one of her mandates in the Red Book was, in their little Red Book they call it, that they were going to eliminate GST. And this was like a big selling point, like everybody. And so she got elected into her primary, and they never removed the GST. Somebody asked her the question once in public, and she said, well, yeah, it was in the Red Book, but do you believe everything politicians tell you? She got canned, though. She lost her position, but then got reelected in another position. Yeah. It's incredible how blatant it is.
Yeah, a really good TV show, if you're interested in that kind of thing. There's a British TV show from, it's probably 20 years ago now, but it was long running, called Yes Minister. And it's all about the civil service and the government, and how the civil servants manipulated the politicians and the politicians manipulated the civil servants, and they both manipulated the public. And it was a comedy show, but very close to the bone.
Very, very much so.
Very close, very, very true, I felt.
It's interesting, soulful connection comes up to pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, it's time for a break, Dr. Leslie.
Great. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth. We will be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, having a conversation about how do you know if you're being lied to? How do you know if you're being manipulated? Can you rely on your intuition to help you navigate these shark-infested waters that you may find yourself in? And we were saying how not only just in our everyday life, we're being lied to all the time, from little white lies to great big on purpose lies, and also how we lie to ourselves, and then how can we be discerning? We were saying, how can we be discerning? How do we know that we're talking to our spirit guide versus some other manipulative being, for example? So it goes across the whole spectrum, from our experience in the physical world to our experience with our psychic abilities and connecting in the spirit realm as well. So usually in the last part of the show, we really love the listeners who are listening live to post their questions, and you can talk about what we've been talking about, or if you have something else you'd like to ask about, that's fine too. And if you are listening on the radio, or if you're listening to this episode as a podcast episode, then you can join us every Tuesday. If you join our Facebook group, which is called Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, you can actually join us live as we're recording the show, and you can participate in the chat room. You can do the same thing by following my YouTube channel, by the way, because we live stream both of those every Tuesday. And by doing that, you get the material ahead of time, because we are recording the shows ahead of when we're broadcasting them.
So George says, perfect, shark infested water, really great analogy. Oh, very, very true, very true. Okay, so we've got some more questions here, more comments and questions, but I'm sure you can comment on the comments.
Sure.
Well, Connection says, yes, this happens in my dreams a lot. So he's talking about when an entity would lie in a dream. Something evil was posing as my deceased grandmother, but I knew it was not her. She was doing stuff my grandmother would never do.
Thank you. What was the name of the person that posted that?
Soulful Connections.
Soulful Connections. Yeah, thank you, Soulful Connections. And that's a great example to share, because you could tell the difference. It looked like your grandmother, but it wasn't behaving like your grandmother. So that's the thing. That's the thing to watch out for. If you do meet someone you know or a guide in your dreams, how are they behaving? What are they saying? You know, just take a step back and trust your own intuition on that. So that's great, Soulful Connections. You recognized it wasn't really your grandmother.
Yes, wonderful. So I've been missing out for all these years. not knowing
communicating to a whole bunch of imposters in your dreams, having a party the buddies.
I better start being careful here.
Yeah, so
one of them asked me for a credit card number once, so probably that was.
I was going to say, when you have me in your dreams and I do something terrible, it's not really me.
Okay. So Anderini says, how do we protect ourselves from these evil beings' manipulation? I think you discussed that just a little bit.
Yes, there's lots of ways that we can protect ourselves, and there's lots of ways that we can be discerning. And so actually we talk a lot about things like that in my Unlock Your Intuition course. So how can you, so I gave you one hint, which is just to ask the being over and over again, you know, are you in alignment with the light? Are you in alignment with the greatest and highest good? And after you've asked that about 3 times, the being can't lie, basically. And so that's one thing that you can do if you're seeing it or sensing it, is to just keep asking it that. And then the other thing is own your space. So grounding, centering, all of those things that I teach. And grounding acts as a protection because it helps you release foreign energy, an energy that's not yours. And there are lots of, I mean, Anderini, I know that you've taken some of my courses, so I don't remember exactly all the techniques that I've taught you, but pretty much everything I teach is a form of a protection. So, and like I said, in my Unlock Your Intuition course, we have a whole module about this subject, actually. So it's an 8-module course, and module number 7 is all about learning to trust your intuition, which means we get into how do you discern if you're being lied to, and we also look at a whole bunch of energy techniques that help us to protect ourselves. But I'm sure you know some already, and you definitely know grounding, and that's a protection. And so cast your mind back to all the things I've taught you and use all of them.
Michelle says, I'm having scattered energies right now. Can you please tell me where my credit card is so I can pay for a course? Help, please.
Well, I don't know where your credit card is, but I can take a look at your scattered energy. Yes,
That might help her find her credit card, right?
yes, exactly. It's kind of interesting, actually, because on the one hand, part of your energy doesn't look scattered at all, and on the other hand, part of it does. And the bit that does is all around the 5th chakra. And the 5th chakra is, I mean, they're all chakras relate to communication, spiritual communication, but especially the 5th chakra it relates to our self-expression. It relates to, our hearing and speaking on a physical level. And it also relates on a spiritual level to the inner voice, to your clairaudience, being able to listen to your guides, telepathic communication, which we were talking about in the beginning of the show. I might not have called it that, but we were talking about how when people tell white lies, they say, oh, you look lovely, and they're thinking, oh no, you look really awful. Well, telepathically, we can pick up on what they're really thinking. And it also relates to pragmatic intuition, sort of practical everyday intuition. So when I look at your energy, on the one hand, part of it, actually the 6th and 7th chakras, they look pretty bright, but the 5th chakra looks like the one where you're having some chaos happening. And it just looks like for some reason you're not really owning your space very well in the 5th chakra. It's interesting. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. It sort of feels like a bigger discussion in a way. But I'm just seeing lots incoming and outgoing, and it's a bit chaotic. And then also this feeling of trying to protect yourself. So it's almost like you're wearing kind of like a collar with all these spikes going out, which looks like just a kind of attempt at keeping people unwanted people at bay. So it feels like there's some resistance going on, and what might help you is to let go of the resistance. We often think in order to protect ourselves, we need to resist the thing that's coming against us, push against it. And all that does is hold it in place more strongly. Whereas if we just let go, then we can be in a state of flow, and that thing, whatever it is, can pass and be gone. Did you have anything to add, Corey? You look like you
Actually, I do on that. So,
yeah, you look like
if you sit down and just like go into a semi meditative state, you don't have to go to meditation. Just close your eyes and just focus on your wallet and where you keep your credit card. Just focus on it. Just open your wallet or your purse or wherever you keep it. Just open it up and just focus in your mind's eye on that where you keep your credit card. Notice your credit card there and just keep watching it and you'll see it come out. And you can see yourself take it out and you can see yourself doing whatever you're doing with it, and then you put it somewhere. And that's the best. If you just keep doing that, it's like a self-hypnosis, and you just keep doing that and it'll come through. And the interesting part about that, if you also tune by meditating, you can also tune into your higher self and you can get the feeling if somebody's borrowed your card. I don't know if anybody has access to it, but you can also check that out at the same time. But yeah, that will work. It's just a tracking mechanism that your mind has. Because trying to think of where you've kept it doesn't work, because our energies sometimes are too scattered to actually think of it, because it's all over the place. You look at your wallet and you notice it, and you notice yourself taking it out of your wallet. But first notice it there, and then you'll start seeing it disappear. And when it starts to come out and disappear, you'll know where the last time you took it out.
yeah.
And if you can't find it tomorrow, call the bank and cancel your card.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Curious soul. Selfish people and those of low vibe are here in survival mode and are tempted to lie more often. Also, those who program themselves to be liars during childhood to avoid getting in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people's behavior patterns get cemented in childhood. So
Liars is they always got to tell another lie to protect the first lie.
well, isn't that the thing, isn't it? And then they have to keep track of all the lies that they've told and who they've told it.
It's tough. It's tough. Unless you're really good at it. I was good at it when I was a kid. So even
wasn't, like in my upbringing, the worst thing that you could do was tell a lie. That was like the worst thing. So I had it really programmed into me to never, ever, ever lie.
I had that programmed into me too, but then I realized the worst thing is to get caught at the lie. So we'll go on to Yvonne. Yvonne says, Dr. Leslie, during doing your spirit guide meditation, I connected with the deceptive spirit that said it was my guardian.
Connected with a what spirit?
Spirit that says it was his malevolent spirit, a deceptive spirit that said it was his guardian.
Okay, so I didn't. So Yvonne said she did the spirit guide workshop,
and the meditation, yeah,
and she met a guide, a malevolent guide. Did you say?
A deceptive spirit that said it was my guardian.
Right. And I don't remember in that workshop, did I tell you to ask it 3 times if it really was a trusted guide? So give us a bit more information, Yvonne. How did you know that it couldn't be trusted, even though it said it was your guardian? And that's the Akashic Adventure Spirit Guide Workshop, by the way, Corey.
Okay.
I probably do say that in there, but I don't remember. It's a while since I put that together.
Let's go. Lots of questions.
Okay, quick.
Said, I had a falling out with a friend this year who was highly and toxically manipulative. Not wholly a bad person, but someone who I believe manipulated in order to create a predictable environment. I think sometimes there are still cords that need to be removed.
Who asked that question?
Joanna.
I would agree with that, Joanna. It does look like there are some energy still to be removed from that situation. And actually what's coming up is around the 5th chakra. So an energy cord, almost like a lasso around the 5th chakra. Yeah.
Get in there and do that. Do your grounding meditation, and that might help. But also, you can call on Michael to come and cut it with Archangel Michael, cut it with a sword. So Jennifer said, "Is there a feeling in the body that typically happens when you're being lied to, or is it different for everyone?"
Yeah, I would say it would depend on the specific circumstances. It can feel different things, you know. So you might have a gut feeling, you might feel your third chakra shrink because you feel like, I don't know, powerless because you feel like you're being manipulated. If they're courting you, you might feel plugs going into your crown chakra, or you just might have a knowing and you might not even feel it in your body at all.
Lori says, "Hi, Lori, how you doing?" Lori says, "I have a new healing guide named Noah and says he is an archangel. Sometimes I think it might be a guy I knew from 30 years ago instead. Can you see if he is who he says he is?"
Noah, an archangel. Let's have a look.
Noah, the archangel.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am seeing a guide, and the guide is lovely. The vibration of the guide is very high. I mean, I'm seeing a gold vibration for this guide. But what I'm seeing happening is that there's something within you that's interfering with your perception of the guide. So you're perceiving the guide through some energy in your space that's causing the confusion. So I'm seeing it is a real guide. It is a lovely guide, but you're doubting the guide because of some energies in your space.
Next question. This is from Nate. Nate says, "I have a hard time trusting and can be cynical, doubtful at first about a lot of things. Do you have any tips on how to be more positive? I don't think it's healthy to go around thinking everyone's lying."
Yeah. Next, so I'm pretty sure you've bought the book, and I'm pretty sure you've downloaded the meditation, the free meditation on my website. So the main thing that introduces cynicism and doubt is the intellect. And the intellect, where most people think, is in the frontal lobes of the brain, And so if you're hanging out in your thinking mind, in the frontal lobes of your brain, there's going to be doubt coming up. So the technique that you will have learned either from reading the book or from downloading the free meditation on the website, centering, where you place your conscious awareness in the center of your head, it pulls you back from the intellect and allows you to have clarity about the truth, about your personal truth about things. And then in that way, you can see the truth about a person or a situation, and also not be taken in by the doubt that's coming up because of your intellect. And you can actually release the doubt down your grounding cord as well, to help you let go of doubt and retrain yourself to stop listening to the doubt.
So Michelle says, "Thank you so much for the tip, both of you." And then, okay, we're on to Tanya. Tanya, this might take a little longer than we have left. Tanya says, "Is my partner manipulating and lying to me now? I feel something is up, but then I have so many voices in my head. I feel like I'm going crazy. I can't think straight."
Yeah, there's a bit of a theme with people in their fifth chakras, isn't there, at the moment? So you asked, is your partner lying to you now? And all the voices in your head. So I think a lot of the things that I've said to other people apply to you. What I just said to Nate might be helpful to you to, Yeah, I'm seeing actually it's all around here for you. All the um, discombobulated voices. Is your partner lying to you? Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Corey. This is not really one to just quickly flip off the thing, but so I would also say, ask the question: are you lying to yourself? Because somewhere inside you, you know if your partner's lying to you or not. Um, and sometimes when other people are lying to us, we don't really want to know. We really don't want to know that they're lying, that they are. Um, yeah, I think, you know, on a question like that, I prefer to talk you through being able to perceive that for yourself. So if you're into it, you know, taking the course or doing a mentoring session with me to help you get clear in your energy and to teach you some ways that you can answer that question for yourself, that would be my preference on that one.
I have a little response for that. If you don't have that problem with other people, if you don't feel like they're trying to manipulate you or lying to you, then take a look at what you're feeling, and you know your intuition is not always wrong. Okay, Yvonne says it got really. This is in response to what you asked about the spirit guide. It got really bad. Whoops, where'd it go? It got really bad. I was so wanted to connect, and then went along with it for a while. I didn't know enough about what I was doing, so
Right.
just
Yeah.
some
Well,
tips like that.
we learn through experience, you know. We've all, you know, along the path, at some point we get taken in, and then we realize we've been taken in, and then we learn from it.
We got one more question. We've gone over time, but we'll go for one more question, and I'll just edit some out for the show. This is from Jennifer, and Jennifer says, I have difficulty with people manipulating me with energetic manipulation. I believe that it is a form of sex magic or necromancy. I feel the pull, but it's tricky. How can I pull my energy back?
Um, so it may not be a matter of you pulling your energy back. It may be a matter of you removing their energy from your space. And so I think I said in the beginning of the show, it's definitely possible for people to manipulate each other based on, you know, sexual energy. And so let's take a look. Yeah, it's not a case of you pulling your energy back, because you're not the one that's out in their space, they're the one in your space. So it's a case of moving their energy out, and also identifying what is it within you that allowed their energy to make a connection. So for that energy to be there, there must be some energy within you and within your space for it to hook into. It's a bit like, think about a plug and a socket. It's like there has to be something that matches the incoming energy to allow it to stick. So, you know, let's say you had a belief that you were powerless against this energy. Well, that energy would take advantage of the belief, you having that belief, for example. So there's two sides to this. You have to remove the energy, but you also have to also remove what the energy was attaching to. I hope that makes sense to you.
And now it's time to say goodnight to all our family. Folks, don't forget to give us a like on Facebook and on YouTube. Get our stats up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next week, same
Or
time.
totem animals. Totem animals.
Totem animals next week. Very cool. That's also in that Akashic adventure that Yvonne was talking about, I think. There's a meditation on that in there.
In that case, good night to all, and to all a good night.
Bye, everybody.